Well, an explosive new article has been published in these times that, of course, has not been mentioned in any of the establishment media. We reported some weeks ago that in Costa Rica, the government accused John Hall, an American rancher who is the local CIA representative there, Oliver North, Richard Secord, and other big names in the Iran-Contra investigation of dealing drugs in Costa Rica, that the secret supply operation to arm the Contras that were stationed in Costa Rica were financed by Colombian drugs, in which the same planes that were used to drop arms to the Contras were used to fly drugs back to the U.S. And the Costa Rica government actually put out drug charges against John Hall, Oliver North, Richard Secord, so none of them can go into Costa Rica anymore because they're wanted criminals in this country. Well, last week, Costa Rica also handed out murder indictments against John Hall, Robert Owen, who was Oliver North's personal courier, and other local CIA agents that had been stationed in Costa Rica. This was a long Costa Rican report into the bombing in La Penca, Nicaragua, on May the 30th of 1984 that was intended to kill Eden Pastora, who was a Contra leader who refused to cooperate with the CIA and the other Contra leadership. So members of the other Contra group, Oliver North and the U.S. government, decided to assassinate Pastora. This has long been reported in the left-wing press. The Christic Institute filed a lawsuit claiming that these people were engaged in drug running and in murder, etc., which was thrown out of an American court. But after a long, detailed Costa Rican investigation, murder indictments were indeed passed down against Hall, Oliver, Robert Owen, and others that were involved in the assassination attempt at Eden Pastora that killed several journalists who were there at the press conference. According to the Costa Rican report, the other Contra fellows wanted to get rid of Pastora because he refused to cooperate with the CIA-led Contras, who were former Somocistas that were members of Somoza's National Guard, who were also engaged in torture and killing of Nicaraguan civilians and were involved in drug running. Pastora didn't like the fact that the Contras were financing their operation with these drug sales, so he was criticizing them, so they decided to kill him. Well, the Costa Rican government indicated that indeed it was John Hall and his friends that planted the bomb at this press conference to try to kill Pastora. Moreover, in another explosive story, they indicated that even after this attempt failed, there were other attempts on Pastora that were decided upon by Hall, by Robert Owen, by Adolfo Calero, and others. One of the people that testified in Costa Rica is Jack Terrell, a former mercenary who said that he was at a meeting after the failed bombing to kill Pastora in December of 1984 in the Sheraton, the Shamrock Hilton Hotel in Houston, Texas. According to Terrell, Hall, Robert Owen, Calero, and others indicated that they had to get rid of Pastora. He continued to be a thorn in their side, and another assassination attempt was necessary. In these times points out that Hall has a knack for staying a step ahead of the law. In the spring of 1986, then Attorney General Edwin Meese derailed an inquiry into Hall's illegal gun running activities, and later a Senate subcommittee on terrorism and drugs headed by John Kerry was not able to get hold of Hall because he was in Costa Rica and he refused to come to the U.S. to testify. There's also an interesting footnote of Dan Quayle's involvement in all of this. Robert Owen, who was Oliver North's courier, who worked with John Hall, was introduced to Hall by Dan Quayle. Quayle, Owen, and Hall are all Indiana residents. They're all close friends. And Owen was actually in Quayle's office when he was first introduced to Hall and got involved in this illegal arms and drug running operation with the Contras that was also involved in political assassination. So if this ever came out, Quayle also could be smeared with the effects of an investigation. Of course, despite the Costa Rican official inquiry, there hasn't been a mention of this in the press in the U.S.